graduate of Michigan State University. He has developed 3 national programs dealing with youth, women, and returning veterans. He appeared on the ABC, NBC, CBS National News, The Today Show National, PM Magazine, Charles Crotman Morning Show, and the Oprah Winfrey Show. He has been featured in Newsweek, USA Today, Business Week, Chicago Sun-Times, The Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, Newsday, Detroit Free Press, Detroit News, and the New York Times. He was invited by 14 world leaders to talk about the breakdown of families. He has been a subject of a nationwide documentary show in Japan. Tuman believes in balance in his life and so has done such diverse things as being a circus clown, rodeo rider, symphony musician, cake decorator, and a parade enthusiast. He served as a feminine relief worker in Ethiopia. He worked as a roadie with the rock group Journey. He passed a milestone of speaking to more than 2 million students in more than 1,300 schools nationwide. He was recently named Detroit News Michiganian of the Year. Jim Tuman.
Who's the most important person you know? 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 Why was that so difficult for some of you here tonight to say that you were the most important person? Virtually every one of you sitting in these seats can influence thousands of people in your life. What are you going to be able to give to somebody if you don't feel good enough about yourself to give them something? I was coming back from Chicago after being on the road for 5 straight days, working at this level of intensity to groups of 1,000 or more. And I just wanted some peace and quiet. I didn't want to talk to one single person. My voice was shot. I found this restaurant, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the lunchtime crowd had gone. I grabbed a newspaper, walked all the way down to the last seat of the counter, and literally wanted to tune out the world. Didn't want to talk to one single person. And I'm sitting there, reading the newspaper. I glance out of the corner of my eye, and a guy walks in. He could have picked any seat at the counter, anyone. They were all empty. Instead, what he does is he walks all the way down and sits down right next to me and starts talking. Well, I got real uncomfortable, as most of us would. And I kept on reading, he kept on talking. And you know, everyone, how sometimes a word or a phrase or a gesture catches you? That's what happened with this guy. Turned out he was 36 years old. He had built a small computer business in Northern California into a multi-million-dollar business. 4 weeks before he met me, he walked into his doctor's office for a routine annual company physical. Doctor called him up 3 days later, told him he had leukemia, less than 6 months to live. This guy's blown away. He had all the toys he could possibly want. He had a beautiful home on the side of the mountain in Carmel overlooking the Pacific. He had the cars, the boats, everything. Now he didn't have the time to be able to enjoy any of these things. And he did something to me that was incredibly courageous. He decided what he was going to do in his remaining time was he was going to sell every single thing he owned. And he was just going to take off. Just to get a chance to see things he never got a chance to see working 16, 18-hour days. And I was so moved and touched by this guy's courage that I actually found myself at the end of the lunch, going out to my car, sitting behind the steering wheel. I found myself crying. In 1 hour's time, this guy influenced me more than people who have been in my life for 30 years. Every one of you has something to offer. But it doesn't mean anything if we all get together to tell you how great you are if you don't buy it inside. If you don't buy it inside. And that's my hope, is that some of you will see your own uniqueness. See what you have. Let me show you something. What's your first name? Katie. Let's assume, Katie, that everyone here at this conference, that we all got together and we decided that you were absolutely the ugliest person that we had ever seen in our lives. Wherever you went, people whispered, wow, there goes Katie, she's so ugly. And people kept on talking. Every session, every meal, people kept on whispering. And you were conscious of all those whispers. And even when your parents picked you up on Sunday, they brought you home and locked you in the bedroom for 2 hours because you're so incredibly ugly. I'm watching you get a real red face, get real uncomfortable. Tell me the truth, Katie. How do you feel if enough people tell you you're ugly? Truthfully. Bad. Actually, I picked on Katie. Katie's attractive, so let's take the complete opposite, Katie. Let's assume that we all got together and said, wow, Katie's a great friend. She's always there when I need her. She always seems to care. How do you feel when enough people tell you you're great? Good. What have we done, everyone, to Katie in the span of 30 seconds? We've taken her from feeling badly about herself to feeling decent about herself just because all of you guys have decided that's how she should feel. And you buy into it. You allow it to happen. I spent so much of my time growing up keeping people at a distance. Don't get too close to me. Maybe you'll find out that I'm weak. Don't get too close to me. Maybe you'll find out that I'm insecure. Don't get too close to me. Maybe you'll find out that I'm afraid. And I was so afraid that people would see through me, that I wore this incredible mask all the time. And my walls were up so high. See, in my family, love was based on performance. And so the more I performed, the greater the love. And there was always that fear one day, what happens if I don't perform? Will there truly be any love? Will there truly be any love? And that was my greatest fear, and I was in the middle of an angry divorce. Going back and forth between my mom and dad, with all the pain of that. And it left me so empty inside, with so many personal challenges. And I really didn't have a clue in my mind what had any importance to me. What had any importance at all? Let me show you something. It's Christmas morning, and you can have any single car in the entire world that you dreamt about. Anything with a big bow on it. What kind of car would you want? Orange Lamborghini. Okay. Christmas morning, same question. Any single car, you walk out, open the door, and said, this is something that I've always dreamt about.
Any sort of blue Hummer.
Blue Hummer. Okay. Christmas morning.
2011
Chevy pickup. Okay. Let's for a minute assume that the three of you guys really own these cars. You really own these cars. And in your mind, they are the best thing, and the weather's been great. You know, you've taken a lot of extra time to polish them. You've driven them, and they're in the parking lot across the street. And they're right next to each other. They're right next to each other. And let's take it one step further. I'm driving through that parking lot with an enormous crane, with a wrecking ball on the crane. And I get to your Lamborghini. Easily 200,000 plus these days. And I take the wrecking ball and I swing it back and I go, wham! Rip off the entire front end of that Lamborghini. So the parts are all over the parking lot. All over the parking lot. Move over to your Hummer, take the wrecking ball, a little bit more work on that one. And I take the wrecking ball and I just drop it on the top of the Hummer so the parts are all over. Take and rip off the side doors while I'm doing that. Move to your pickup truck, probably 30, 35,000. These days I take the wrecking ball and I swing it back and I go wham, wham, wham! Like a riveter. So if there's a back seat to that truck, it is now the front seat of the truck. There is no insurance on these cars, guys. None whatsoever. You got 41 months of payments left. In the case of yours, probably $3 grand a month. You guys are standing in front of these cars, and you're looking at each other, and you're surely looking back at me. I'm going to get into my car as I pass the three of you pulling out of the parking lot. I'm going to smile and wave to you guys as I'm pulling out of that parking lot. Assuming no one was going to come down on you for anything. There was no right or wrong, no conscience issues, no judgment, nothing. What would you want to do to me physically before I got out of that parking lot? Be as specific as you want. What would you want to do to me physically? I just took a $200,000 car where you still have payments left and no insurance. What would you want to do to me physically before I got out of there? Punch me in the face. Just with your fist? Okay.
I would probably want to show you what the wrecking ball.
Rock and roll on that one. Go. And give me more graphic. What would you want to use? I want the three of you, and I want everybody else here. I want you to stop and think about this one. Guys, if these cars were the only reason you had friends, if these cars were the only reason people liked you for, if these cars were the only image that you actually had, I've actually just destroyed you. You are history, you want no more. So here's the challenge, everyone. If you don't feel good from the inside, if you need the stuff in your lives to make you feel good about yourself, someone at some point in your life can take it all away. It is just that simple. Just that simple. For me personally, it was never driven home clearer than me. A number of years ago, I got a chance to work in the earthquake area outside of Naples, Italy. Now, most of you have been following natural disasters probably since you were very young. And more recently, obviously, in Japan, the tsunami, the rest of the things. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw outside of Naples, Italy. For 100 square miles, lives, houses, property, cars was gone in 38 seconds. 38 seconds. Imagine all of you, you left your house this morning. Imagine maybe as you were leaving, you forgot something. Maybe it was on the kitchen table, maybe it was in the driveway. You forgot something. Now, imagine futuring a little bit. You come home on Sunday night, and nothing that you have when you left is still standing. And now you know what these people felt like. And I used to do community organizing. I would work with small groups, and I would try to get them mentally to figure out how were they going to rebuild their village. And I used to ask them the question, why would you want to take a chance? Why? You're right on an earthquake fault line. This can happen again in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years, but it is surely going to happen again. You know, everyone, what I heard was pretty much same answers. Different words, same answers. My friends live here. My family lives down the road. I love living in this village. And I read between the lines, what these people were really saying to me was, my friends and family come first in my life and the things that I own second. Now, most of you are saying, this guy's crazy, I'm going to go out and get all the stuff I want now, and then I'll deal in my life with the priority of people first, things second. So let me ask all of you in the room a question. If you can answer this question, I am willing to buy you dinner any place of your choice. Any place of your choice. How do you know? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? I was speaking at a school where a 14-year-old girl who was supposed to have been at that program was killed the night before, coming back from a basketball game in the fog. I spoke out at Romulus High School. Captain of the football team walked into school one day. Two friends were fighting with another guy. He went to break up that fight. Somebody put a knife into his gut, and he died on the way to the hospital. I am sure those two people did not get up that morning and say, "This is the last day of the rest of my life." I am sure that they didn't have that when they got up that morning. This is the last day of the rest of my life. There are no guarantees. No guarantees. Raise your hand in the room if you've been to a funeral in the last year. Now I want you to stop and think about this one. Raise your hand again if you went to that funeral in the last year of somebody who you thought died too young or died before their time. You know, it's devastating for all of us here, especially myself included. You see, we magically believe when we tell a friend of ours, "I'll see you back at school. I'll talk to you on the phone tonight. I'll meet you later." We actually expect that that person is going to be there in our lives. And when someone in our life breaks the chain, every single one of us realizes we're only on borrowed time. So guess what? If you are waiting for the time in your life to make a difference, if you are waiting for the time in your life to start fulfilling your dreams, if you are waiting for the time in your life to maybe heal some relationships, maybe you won't have that time. Again, no guarantees. No guarantees. I was both blessed and cursed. I was one of the keynote speakers at the 9/11 commemorative on Anniversary 1. Two of my high school friends had died in that World Trade. And I walked around this empty pit, and I didn't know what I was going to say. What do you say to one of the single, if not the single, most atrocious natural disaster, or actually man-made disaster in our history? What do you say? And I walked around, and I was there for hours, and nothing came to me. And finally, all of a sudden, I realized how many people had gotten up that morning with what I call unfinished business. Maybe they were working on a book. Maybe they had a relationship that they were angry with someone. Maybe they had a dream that they were going to travel someplace. Whatever it was, they got up as if it was like another day. And they didn't come back. They didn't come back. My friend had an angry, rageful fight with his son. Called his son a loser. Said, "You will never, ever amount to anything. And I don't want you here when I come home." Well, he never came home. He left his son $2 million. And guess what? His son has spiraled down to his dad's prophecy. Sleeps all day, has no ambition, doesn't seem to care, because the last words were words of anger and frustration and pain. The last exchange that he had, and this burns in his memory. Because I talked to him, and he says to me, "Jim, what's the use? What's the use? My dad just didn't care." And I said, "No, your dad loved you very much." But he said, what he said to me before he left didn't feel like love to me. So what I'm saying to all of you, and this is what I do, I don't say goodbye to people. I say, I love you, I care about you, you're important to me. So if something should happen to me or them, the last words will be positive memories for them to carry. And I'm asking you to do the same thing. If you've got somebody in your life that has hurt you or that you're angry with, if the last words in exchange between both of you are painful words, then it's never going to be complete. The circle will always be there. There's a friend of mine that was going through an angry divorce. Her husband had had an affair with someone. She sent him out with the most vile of exchange. And when he left, he hit another car and was killed. To this day, it haunts him. To this day, even though they were getting a divorce, to this day, the pain still haunts him. And that's the challenge for all of us. How do we figure out how to stop the pain now? We're living in that environment on a continuous basis. And then the big question that continues to haunt is, what is important? Let me show you something. Does anybody here have a $20 bill? Anybody? Please. I thought it was going to be a stretch, but it actually wasn't. Can you stand up for me? Now, can you hold it, open it up and tear it in half? Oh, good. You have to work with this one. Thank you. Can you hold this one? You know, everyone, I know people that have compromised their entire lives for this. I know people who have sold out for this. I am not. So that any of you walk out of here tonight the least bit unclear. I am not saying that this is not important. We run a whole society by this. I am simply saying to all of you who have got some enormous choices coming up in the next few years, if that is the only thing in your life that motivates you, if that is the only thing in your life you get up every day for, if that's the only thing in your life that has the slightest bit of meaning, there is never going to be enough. Never. Let me show you something. Give me best guess. How many people in your life do you know that are truly, truly fulfilled and happy in their lives? Best guess. 5. And how many in your life do you know? Hundreds? At least hundreds. Same question. How many people in your life do you know that are truly, truly fulfilled and happy in their life? And none then. That'd be fine. And in your life also hundreds? Same question. None. Okay? And also hundreds. I want all of you to listen to those odds. Pretty consistent for me as I crisscross the country. There's approximately 5 people in total that they know that are truly fulfilled and happy in their lives, as opposed to hundreds, if not thousands, of people that they know. Want to know what that means for all of you in this room based on those odds? There's about 150, 175 of you in this room. Based on those odds, maybe in this whole room, two of you are going to be truly fulfilled and happy in their life. Is it going to be you? 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 Or you? Or you? Or you? Or you? Who knows? And who knows how much time you've got to deal with this. Think about it. No guarantees. No guarantees. Raise your hand in the room if you come from a divorced family. Thank you. Now I want you to stop and give me a little space. I just did 4 schools in the last maybe 2 weeks, so my voice is getting a little shot here. I want you to raise your hand individually, any of you, and tell me, why do you think there are so many divorces in this country today? We lead the world in divorce. Anybody? Oh, Kimmy, go.
The greed for money.
The greed for money. Thank you, Kimmy. Yes.
People are thinking only about themselves.
People are thinking only about themselves. First name. Your first name.
Rachel.
Rachel, thank you. Go.
People not married for the right reasons.
People don't marry for the right reasons. Yes, first name.
Nick.
Nick, thank you. People don't communicate. First name. Thank you. Powerful stuff. Yes, first name. Olivia, go. Young marriages. Without a doubt. By the way, I'll get around it. Go. First name. Kyle. People think that happiness is just around the corner someplace else. First name.
Mike,
Mikey, go.
in the 60s and 70s, the laws were relaxed a little bit, so it made it easier to get.
For a logical person here. Thank you, Mike. Good stuff. I'm going to carry that one home. Yes, go. First name. Megan. People give up too easily. I have something to say, and then we're going to finish up with all of you. So just you can raise your hands again. I wish, and I've said this so often because I'm so passionate about this, I wish that the people who are making decisions for your lives could be a fly on the wall to listen to your wisdom tonight. I wish that, that they who, judge you and put you down and don't believe in you and have a lot of mistrust of you could hear what it is that you're sharing tonight. Because you're right on target with most of these. And besides that, if you listen to each other, maybe when it's your time, maybe you'll be less prone to make any kind of mistake. Anybody else? Why so many? First name. Beth, go. People are selfish. Thank you, Beth. Yes. Abby. They take it for granted and they don't realize what they have. Thank you. Yes, first name.
Megan.
Go, Megan.
Jobs take over their lives.
Jobs take over their lives. Workaholic mindset. Thank you, Megan. Yes. Katie.
They don't realize that someone's important.
That it can't, sometimes they give up because they don't believe it's possible to work at it. Is that correct, Katie? Thank you very much. First name.
Maggie.
Megan, go.
They lost faith in each other.
They lost faith in each other. Thank you. Say that again.
They lost faith in each other.
Good. Thanks. First name.
My name's Charlie.
Charlie, go.
People rush into things.
They rush into things. First name.
Natalie.
Go.
And people lose sight of what's truly important.
They lose sight of what's truly important to them. Go. First name.
Liz.
Yes.
Peter.
Fear. Big time. Big time. Yes. Go. First time. Go. Go.
They were together for their own reasons.
They got together for the wrong reasons. Yes. People change. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. Hold that space. Yes. They're looking for perfection and it's not there. Thank you very much on that. That is great stuff. Go. First name. Katie. They're not satisfied with just each other anymore. Look outside. Yes.
Mike.
Lack of commitment. First name. Alex, go. Yes.
There's just no true love.
Well, I love my wife. She's in the back. And, you know, I got to tell you, that's a myth because, you know, I fall more in love with my wife every day. Every single day. For me, that works. For a lot of other people, it doesn't work, including Tiger Woods. Yes. Sorry? People, they're more prone to the material side of life than it is to love, right? First thing, Bruce, go. Alcohol abuse. I see so many of that these days. Okay. Go. First name. Jessica, go. Lack of time with each other. No doubt. No doubt. Guys, please don't let anyone squelch your voice. Don't let anyone tell you that what you have to say doesn't matter and isn't valued. And if you listen tonight and buy that, you'll be a phenomenal person that is willing to be on the cutting edge and take some risks. And there's nothing better in your life than that, because the more that you are on that cutting edge, the more you're going to contribute. Anybody else? Yes?
Once their kids grow up, there's nothing to hold them together.
They stay together because they're kids. First name?
Mary.
Mary, thank you. Anyone else? Go.
Unwillingness to compromise.
Unwillingness to compromise. Okay, a couple more. Anybody? Yes? They don't trust each other. Bottom line stuff. I mean, and that's the one critical issue that all of these other things have some link to, is the idea of trust. First name, go.
Aaron,
Go.
society makes it seem like it's a very easy way out, like way back in the turn of the century, no one would fear the divorce. It would force them to work out their differences. But now, oh, well, you know, we don't like the same band. It's over.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. By the way, you should team up with Mikey here. That was good stuff. I have a question for all of you. Do you think people really know each other before they get married? What is the first thing we do when we meet somebody? We try to impress them. We try to tell them the best of who we are. People fall in love on the basis of that impression. They get married on the basis of that impression. And then they wake up one day and a completely different person has emerged. Somebody who they don't even know. I have a friend of mine in Detroit who's a divorce court judge. And he says the biggest reason that people have for being in his courtroom is the other person changed. The other person didn't change, guys. They were in there in the first place. Sometimes we are so busy wearing the mask. Wearing the mask. This lengthy introduction sheet that Brandon read at the beginning of this talk, it's not me, gang. It is not me. It is the things I did in my life. It's not the person who I am. The person who I am never sleeps a night before a talk. If you saw me, walking around here a half an hour, I was just pacing in the back. I was trying to get my courage up. And normally on good years, I speak to over 100,000 people. You see, I changed schools 5 times between grade school and high school. And it left me with so many fears and so many insecurities that it is tough for me to get out in front of a room full of people. It is even more difficult for me to meet you one-to-one. If you had a party in this auditorium and I didn't know any of you, I would walk through those doors. I would wait for someone to say something to me, say hello, smile, whatever. If that didn't happen, I'd look at some of the things on the walls. If it still didn't happen, I'd go get some food. And by then, if there was no contact, I would leave. I would leave. And I have done this dozens of times because it's too difficult for me to walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, my name is Jim," or say hello to somebody. I was on a national speaking tour in Australia, and I came back from Sydney to Honolulu about 10 hours. And I was sitting in the center section, and there was a person on either side of me. I sat there for all those hours, reading the same newspaper, same magazine, over and over and over again, waiting for one person on either side to say something. When that didn't happen, I just sat there. Too much pain growing up. Too frightened. Too difficult. Raise your hand in the room if you have a best friend. Thank you. I'm going to start here. I'm just going to work my way across. Raise your hand individually, any of you, and tell me what makes that person a best friend to you. Anybody? Go.
Being there, even when, like, not very nice.
Being there for you no matter what, even if you're not nice or kind. Go. Yes.
I can trust it.
You can trust them. Yes. Go.
Support and loyalty.
Support and loyalty. Yes.
Been there for me through my hardest times.
Been there for you through the hardest times. Yes.
Picking me up when I fall.
Picking you up when you fall. Go.
Only the last day and everyone else is gone.
Last person standing. Yes.
Someone who can always make me smile.
Always make you smile. It's my wife. Go.
Loves me when I don't love myself.
Loves you when you don't love yourself. What wisdom you have. That's powerful stuff. Go.
He's been with me for 6 years.
He's been with you through no matter what. Thick and thin. Yes.
She lets me be myself.
Lets you be yourself. Yes.
Understands.
Understands. Yes.
Giving me hard times.
Is there during hard times. Yes. Anybody? Go in the back.
They can always make me laugh.
Always make you laugh, without a doubt. One of the greatest gifts. And by the way, please, tonight, if you have to email them, if you have to text them, if you have to call them, and they're not here, which obviously you probably won't, since it's a cross-section, let your best friend know that you said this positive thing about them, because they are the safe place that you can always go to. And we all need a safe place. Anybody else? Best friend? Go.
Appreciates me for who I am.
Appreciate you for who you are. Yes. Be there when you need someone to talk to. Yes.
My best friend buys me slush.
Buys you slushies. Okay, let's get down to the basics. Good stuff. Yes. He accepts you. Yes. Tells you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. What a great best friend for you. Go. You can confide in her and she won't judge you. Yes.
I respect your morals and they respect mine.
Mutual respect. Go.
He helps me fix my insecurities.
He helps you fix your insecurities. Yes. Know you better than you know yourself. Yes.
Loves me despite my flaws and I feel.
Loves you despite your flaws and your failures. Go. Motivates you. In the back.
Influences you to be a better person.
Influences you to be a better person. Go. Never ever bail on you. Yes, go.
He doesn't let me fall when times feel uncertain.
He doesn't let you fall. Go.
He lets me be myself, not judge me.
Lets you to be yourself and not judge you. Why didn't any of you that just spoke, Why don't you mention the grades that person had? Sports they played, cars they drove, money that they did or didn't have. Anybody? Not important, doesn't matter. Then why do we believe so much that it does matter? Why do we judge people on the basis of something that you know in your heart doesn't matter? And yet we still are prone to do it. Your leaders, it's time to stop this madness. It's time to look at some of the things you just shared about your best friend. It's time for you to actually be able to be counted in what has true value. See, we're losing. We're losing it. I speak a lot on college campuses. They spend 4 years looking at a box. We are losing this ability to connect. We're losing this ability to look somebody in the face, tell them something. We're losing this ability to show people that we care. Sure, you can email them. Sure, you can put it on Facebook. Sure that, you can text them. But that's third person. People need that connection. People need that connection. And when we don't have that connection, we get lonely. And when we get lonelier, we pull in. And we get more self-protected. And we put more walls up. And it's less likely that people will see us. This weekend is special to me always. Because there's a chance that you guys could be 100% authentic. There's a chance that you will be able to be yourselves. But it is a conscious choice on your part. And if you choose not to, you miss out. And that's what's always been so special about HOBY weekends for me. And I speak at HOBY sites all over the country. And it's similar that people come together somewhat of like mind and are able to really see themselves in the mirror of somebody else's issues. And if you see that, then you know that you are not alone. Let me show you something. You're killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident. And we're having a memorial service in this auditorium for you. I want people only to remember you for the Lamborghini. How do you want people to remember you? For the good stuff that you do. You're killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident. And we're having a memorial service in this auditorium for you. I want people to only remember you for the Hummer. How do you want people to remember you?
For the person that I was.
For the person that you were. Same question. Want people to remember you for the truck? How do you want people to remember you? For you. Isn't it interesting, everyone? Not more than 10 minutes ago, these three guys were prepared to take their fists and make damage with me. They were prepared to kill me violently with a wrecking ball. Over cars they don't want to be remembered for. We complicate our lives. It is so simple, everyone. Stop. If you have tuned this out up until right at this moment, stop. Ask yourselves. Ask yourselves in group. Ask yourselves with another person. In quiet moments tonight, ask yourselves, how do I want the people in my life who I love and who love me to remember me? How do I want the people in my life who I love and who love me to remember me? If some of you want to be remembered as a person who was there when people needed you, put that one up at the top of the list in your life. If you want to be remembered as a great friend, put that one up at the top of the list in your life. If you just want to be remembered as a person who cared, put that one up at the top of the list in your life. That's not to say don't go after a lot of money. That's not to say don't get the best job possible. That is not to say don't have a ton of friends. I'm simply saying to all of you, stop. Stop. Ask yourselves. It's your compass. It's your GPS. If you fulfill that part of you, then you will be among the happier people. There's a poster that, and I love doing these posters. You get a chance tonight to get some. The happiest people live outside themselves. They live outside themselves. And because they live outside themselves, they are so much more able to contribute. They are so much more able to be leaders. They are so much more able to be effective people. I've never been to a funeral where somebody stood up and said, boy, that person lived in a great house. That person drove a great car. That person always dressed well. You know what they say? That person was there. That person smiled at me. That person made me feel valued. That person understood me. That person was positive in my life. And all of those things matter. Because to echo a little bit of what Kevin shared, in the end, people will only remember your heart. They won't remember all the other stuff. 10 minutes after all of us are gone, the people in our lives that love us will continue to love us. The people that don't. Nobody's going to get up after I'm gone and who doesn't care and say, I love Jim too, and they're not. And you know what's going to happen? Everybody else in the world is going to keep on trucking. So the key for all of you is, what do you do while you're here? What do you do while you're here? Because that's what's valued. That's what's valued. 5 years ago, next month, an 18-year-old girl changed my life. I was always on my path. I always had a vision. I always was clear on what that vision was. I went into a Red Robin restaurant. And the waitress comes over and she says, what would you like to drink? And I said, I'll have a Diet Coke. And she says, oh, I'm so sorry, we only have Pepsi products. And I said, well, just bring me some water, that would be great. She kind of looks at me and she says, do you really want a Diet Coke? And I said, well, I would really love that, but I understand water would be wonderful. And she said, well, let me see what I can do to make that happen. And I looked at her like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, there's a 7-Eleven across the street. I'll go over and get you a Diet Coke. And I thought to myself, I got up, gave her a hug, thought the gesture alone was phenomenal. I said, but don't bother, it's just too much. It was human like today. And about 10 minutes later, she comes running back in that restaurant, and there's beads of sweat on her forehead, and on her tray are 2 Diet Cokes. Well, I did all the obligatory things, everyone. I gave her a hug, I told her manager, I gave her a big tip. I even believe I called the corporate office. But I drove away that day thinking, if she at 18 years old could go the extra mile, then I, every day when my eyes open up, believe that I can make a difference in somebody's life. Guess what? You can. You can. And from that point to today, there hasn't been one time. Sometimes it's a stretch. Sometimes it's right there in front of me. There hasn't been one time when it hasn't occurred. occurred when it doesn't present itself. Smallest of ways, biggest of ways. But it presents itself. And some of the more unusual ones I was at a Tigers game, I was sitting on the first base side, and a little boy with a mitt, probably no more than 7, 8 years old, was running up to the rail post in between innings to try and get a ball. And there were so many adults that were bigger, had longer reach, and they were in turn getting the ball every time. It's about the 7th or 8th inning, and I'm looking at this kid and thinking, I probably would be this kid. And I'm looking at this kid thinking he's never going to get a ball. And I went all the way up, walked all the way up to the concession stand and bought a ball. And as I'm going down, I scuffed the ball along the concrete like it was a game ball. When everybody ran up to get the ball in between innings, I stayed there, and he was walking back and he was punching his mitt and his head was down, and I threw him the ball. You thought I'd given him like a transplant because it was such a powerful moment for this little boy. And he was sitting 8, 10 rows away from me. And it was the last inning, and he got up, he was with his grandfather, started walking up the stairs. And I glanced at him, and he turns around, and he takes a picture of me. I drove home that night thinking, isn't this great? Isn't this great? Isn't it possible that we can do this every single day? That we have the opportunity. And for so many of you, it supersedes all the things that you think are important to do an act of kindness every single day. I was in New York when Princess Di was killed, and I was in New York when JFK Jr. was killed, and people were leaving tons of flowers and where they work, where they live. And I thought to myself, they are bringing thousands and thousands of dollars in flowers, and yet they can't go home and tell their own family that they love them. They can't tell their own family that they love them. See, many of us are stuck. We're stuck with things that happen in our lives. Raise your hand in the room if you can remember your most painful moment. Raise your hand. Keep the hands up because I want to do this. How long ago?
5 years.
How long? How long? How long?
Year and a half.
How long?
1 month.
1 month. How long?
4 years.
How long? A year. How long?
7 months.
7 years. How long? 6 years. Mikey, go. 2 months, yes.
A year.
A year, go. 5 years, yes. October, yes. A year, yes. Yes.
8 years.
8 years, yes. 8 years, yes.
A year and 4 months.
A year and 4 months, yes.
10 years.
10 years, wow. Yes.
A year and a month.
A year and a month, yes. 7 years, go.
Year and a half.
Go.
3 years.
3 years, yes. 6 years, yes. 5 years. Go.
Year and a half.
Yes. 11 years, wow. Yes.
4 months.
Yes.
Year.
A year, go.
5 years.
5 years, yes. 10 years, yes.
4 years.
4 years, yes. I'm sorry?
23.
23 years. Yes, go. 5 months. Yes. 4 years, yes. 3 weeks, yes. 2 years, yes. Month and a half, yes. 7 years, yes. 3 years, go. Go. 2 years, go. 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 4 years, 5 months, go. 3 years, yes. 12 years, yes. 2 months, last 2, go. Yes. 3 years. What happened in the room, everyone, just now? Tell me what happened in the room. I didn't ask you to tell me what your most painful moment was. I just asked you to remember it. And we had 12 years and 10 years. For some of you that haven't been on this earth a long time, we had 23 years. What I'm asking you to do tonight is to stop the legacy of pain. Stop it. Stop it. Because every time that painful moment comes up, and many of you brought it back as if it happened yesterday, every time that painful moment comes up, part of you cringes. Part of you breaks down trust. Part of you stops loving. Part of you has that as a defining moment in your lives. And you know what happens with that? At that moment, when that red flag comes up, your life effectively stops that day for a period of time. So what I'm saying to all of you is stop the legacy of madness. Because if it's going to define your life, nothing. No great grade point, no multiple degrees, no very good job, no relationship, nothing will ever be able to find its completion level. I love my wife with all my heart, but it took the healing of a lot of my pain in my life to get to a place where I can completely open up my heart. And when I finally opened up my heart, there were people standing there saying, "Jim, why did you wait so long to let us love you?" Because I was scared. I was scared. Easily the worst thing for me was abandonment. And I was afraid somebody was going to look and see something that they didn't like, and they were going to walk away, and it was going to be more painful. I grew up in a macho family, New York City street kid. And for all of my life, I was never able to tell my mother or my father or my brother never once that I loved them. Never once. And I would have given anything in my life for someone to have walked into a place where I was, asked me to raise my hand for my dad. As my best friend, I would have given anything. But my dad was incredibly effective. Every time I go to open up, he'd say, "I can't be bothered now. Go back to your room. Don't ever let me see you cry." And what I did was I pushed my feelings down, so I couldn't let them out. I didn't know how to love, because there was always this attachment that somebody was going to leave me. I had the biggest monumental turn. I was speaking at a school in the middle of my program. Somebody pulled me off to the side and said, "Hey, Jim, we got an emergency phone call. Sounds real serious. You better take care of it." Turned out my father had 3 heart attacks in succession. You know, everyone, I don't even remember what I said to finish the program, but I do remember getting on the first plane, getting to New York where he lived, walking into a hospital room, and seeing my father lay down in a coma, intravenous bottles coming out, tubes sticking out all over. And my first instinct was I walked over and I grabbed his hands. I grabbed his hands. And I wanted to tell him I loved him. I wanted to tell him he was special. I wanted to tell him he had made a difference in my life. I couldn't. All the old tapes, what you guys just shared about your painful moment, all the old tapes kept playing in my head. It's not safe. Don't say it. It's going to hurt you. It's going to put you down. I sat in that chair for 2 days, slept in that chair. And I watched my father move in and out of a coma, sometimes for a minute or two, sometimes for a couple more minutes. And each time there was another opportunity to tell him I loved him. And each time, instead, what I said was, Dad, do you need anything? Do you want a drink of water? Do you want me to get the nurse? When in my heart and my gut, I wanted to tell him I loved him. His life was hanging by a thread, and I couldn't find the courage. 2 days. My father survived the heart attacks. Grace of God, strength of the man, however you choose to see it. And there was a big break that happened for me. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. I got a second chance. I got a speaking engagement in New York City, and I called my father up and I said, Pop, I wasn't able to talk to you in the hospital about something that was really important. Let's get together for dinner. And my father just gotten out. And he said, Jim, I got dinner plans, what about lunch? I had programs, television commitments, meetings. I rearranged my entire schedule to get to that restaurant a half an hour early, tell him for the first time in my life that I loved him. And I sat in that restaurant doing mind games. You know how sometimes when you want the perfect words to fit what your feelings are? What words were going to make my father not put me down? What words were going to make my father not be silent? What words were going to make my father not laugh at me? And finally, I was just in a panic. And I got up and couldn't sit any longer in that restaurant. Got up, started walking around the block, just trying to get my courage. And I completely lost track of time, everyone. And realized when I looked at the clock, I was 15 minutes late, knowing my father, who's always on time, would surely be sitting in that restaurant. And I raced back in the restaurant, and there he was sitting, and the first thing he did was jam me, put his finger in my face. Why are you 15 minutes late? You know I've only got an hour for lunch. When are you going to be on time? And I looked at him and I said, no way. No way. I've lived with this pain all my life. I'm not telling him I love him. But I looked back at my father. He had lost 50 pounds since the heart attacks. His face, the cheekbones were coming through his head. He was that thin. I knew I wasn't going to get a third chance on this one. And I reached across the table because it seemed to comfort me in the hospital, and I grabbed his hand and I said, Dad, thanks for waiting up till 2 o'clock in the morning when I didn't show up all night. Thanks for standing by me when I tore the cartilage in my knee, couldn't finish the last 3 football games. A ton of guys came down on my back. Thanks for bailing me out, Dad. I really love you. And as I said to him, I really love you, put my head down. Barely above a whisper did I say that. Everyone, when I raised my head, it was the last reaction in the world I could have ever imagined. For the very first time in my life. I never saw it at my grandfather's funeral. For the very first time in my life, I cried. Watched my father cry. And I cried. And I went around the table and put my arms around my dad, and we sobbed, and his head was sitting on the side of my chest. He just let go, and I just let go. I let all that pain and anger and hurt and everything that was sitting inside of me. I can tell all of you, especially the guys here tonight, that ranks as the best moments I've had in my life. And I got together with my dad the next morning for breakfast, and he told me something that blew me out of the water. He said, Jim, I would have gone to my grave and not been able to tell you I loved you. Because my father, my grandfather, told him it was wrong. He was just passing that one on to me. Just passing that one on to me. So many of you have inherited that legacy of pain. from your grandparents who inherited it from their parents, from your parents who inherited it from the grandparents. Stop the legacy of pain. First time I ever told this story, a young girl was moved to get up out of her seat. It was a morning program. She went and called her father in Crittenden Hospital, tell him for the first time she loved him. And her father, who had waited so long to hear her say that, come on, he said, come on over. I need to be with you. She raced over. Her and her father just sat there all day, opening up to each other, telling each other how much they cared, doing healing, asking for forgiveness, giving forgiveness. And it was 2 hours past visiting time, and her dad said, you look tired, go home. Go home. She said, I'm not going home, Dad, I'm staying here. This is the closest we've ever been. He said, we'll pick it up tomorrow morning. She said, Dad, no. I want to be in this chair when your eyes open up in the morning. I love you, and this is the closest I've ever felt. He said, don't be silly. He said, this is the beginning, and I'll see you first thing in the morning. You come back. Everyone, reluctantly, she went home. At 7:30 the next morning, her father died on the operating table. And I got a call from her the first day of grief to thank me. To thank me for giving her the courage to tell her father how much she cared. And the words were so powerful, I wrote them on my bulletin board, because she said we had a lot of time together and yet we had no time together. Spoke at a school in the UP. Young girl wasn't so lucky. She waited till after school to tell her dad how much she cared. She raced home. There was an EMS truck in the driveway. Her father, at 38 years old, who had been cleaning out the garage, died of a heart attack. 38 years old! And I got a call from her the first day of grief. And what she said is, Jim, you talk to thousands of people in your life. Tell them not to wait. Tell them I waited a half an hour too long. There are many of you here today. You've got people in your life that you love. You've got people in your life that have made a difference for you. You've had people in your life that have been those best friends, have given you unconditional love. Never once have you told them that you care. Never once. Live with the reality, as I do, that there is no guarantee that the person that you care about is going to make it home tonight. Life changes in a phone call. If you don't buy that, look at the 6 o'clock news on any given night. I wish that for some of you who raised your hands who lost somebody in the last year or 5 years or 10 years, I wish I could bring that person back for just a few minutes so you could share what was still left in your heart. But obviously I can't do that. The next best thing I can do is to give you the gift of what I'm giving you tonight. One of the greatest gifts that you could do for someone who's no longer here is to live out their love. Live out their love. A woman whose best man and Jan and mine wedding died this summer of mouth cancer in her 50s. Long battle, pain, but she was always there to give love. And every time when I'm preparing for a talk, I always say, Linda, give me a little bit extra. Give me the heart that I always know was there. It's like a chain letter for some of you. You can actually be able to make that person a lifelong part of your life by just remembering. My grandmother used to stroke my forehead when I was 10 years old. That's a long time ago, and yet I could close my eyes and still feel my grandmother's touch on my forehead. There's so many of you that have people in your life, and we don't do it. We get busy. We always procrastinate. We always tell ourselves, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me after a talk and said, someone passed away last year and I love them very much and I wanted to be there for him, I wanted to tell him, and I never did. Tell the people tonight, tomorrow, on the drive home, tell your parents how important they are and how much you love them. And even if you don't, it's the beginning. It's the beginning. There's a sharing part of my program. I did it this week in Vicksburg, or last week. And I think it's the most powerful part of my program. Students come to the mic in front of the whole school for hours and share who they are and what they're about. And when they get through, people come up and they just cry with them and hug them and hold them. I'm hoping that you're able to do that this weekend. And I've seen some incredible things happen in this sharing part. At a school in southwestern part of the state, a young boy with an encephalitic head, pencil-thin arms, from birth defects, got up in front of the whole school and said, "Why do you guys make fun of me? I didn't mean to be born like this. I need friends. Please be my friend. Please don't let me go through school with so much pain." And when he got through speaking, 50 people came out of the stands, hugged him, cried with him, promised him that they would watch out for him, promised him that they didn't realize how much their words had hurt him and put him down. In his school in Utah, brother and sister, quadriplegic, paraplegic. Brother gets up at the mic and points to the corner of the room where his sister is and says, "I want to thank my sister for giving me the courage to keep on going when I didn't have any courage." And his sister takes a motorized chair and goes up to the mic where her brother is, and somehow connected with both chairs, they reach over and they just hug each other and hold each other. And everyone got up on their feet and gave them a standing ovation. They had never seen such courage. Biggest act of courage was a school in Chicago. A young girl that was absolutely beautiful. Had been leaving school 6 or 8 weeks before I got there. Nobody knew why. It was all these rumors. Cutting, rumors that were just demeaning. And she got up in front of the whole school and she said, "I've heard some of the rumors come back to me, but I want to set the record straight." She said, 8 weeks ago I found out I've got cancer. She said, "I'm 16 years old and I don't want to die." She said, "I've been taking chemotherapy treatments. It's left me too sick to come back to school." She said, like the first boy, "I need friends. I thought I was above all of them. I thought I could go it alone. I didn't think that I needed anyone. And now I realize I was so wrong, so wrong." She said, "Please be there for me. I'm scared. I'm 16. I don't want to die. I need you. I need friends. And when she got through, she took off her wig and she was completely bald from the chemotherapy treatments. I had to get out of the way for 2 solid hours. While everyone in that school lined up to cry with her, to care about her, to tell her that they loved her, tell her that they wouldn't let her go by herself through this ordeal. 2 hours. It was a huge school, maybe 2,500 kids. Every Christmas I get a letter. And there's always one sentence that sticks out. I don't know who's winning, the cancer or me, but my friends are helping me through. That's the key for every one of you here tonight. Your friends are helping you through. You can remember school as 4 years of the toughest times you've ever had in your life, or 4 years of at least decent times, and the difference is the people who were there to care about you. So here's the challenge I'm asking all of you to do. You want to be leaders? Next time you're in a lunchroom, you look around. If you see somebody having lunch by themselves, walk over and say, would you like to join us? They may say no, but they'll remember you care. If you see somebody standing at their locker, they look down, go up and say, is there anything I can help you with? They may say no, but they'll remember that you care. And that's what a true leader does. It isn't just encircle themselves with a lot of other people. It's going outside themselves. I was speaking in Channel Island High School in north of Los Angeles. And during the sharing party, a young girl got up, and she was in LD, special needs, and she started talking, and I got a little nervous because I thought, please, please, don't embarrass yourself. Please. And this is what she said. She said to everybody, I like boys. And everybody laughed. Mostly at her. She said, I really like boys. And everybody kept on laughing. And then she said, and I like this boy. And she pointed to the buff California beach guy in the whole school. And there was like this moment of, when I swallowed. And all of a sudden he jumps out of his seat in the bleachers. And he runs down and he grabs this young girl and he spins her around. And he gives her the biggest hug, and they went crazy. What phenomenal courage on both parts. This young girl and this boy. He stepped out of his comfort zone. She stepped out of hers. And the ultimate result was a moment in time she will never, ever, ever forget. Ever, ever forget. You guys can do that. You guys can do that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in the sharing when somebody gets up and says, I want to thank this person. Because when I was brand new to school, they walked over and said, can I walk with you? Can I show you some classes? Can I answer any questions? It's just that simple. It's the extra mile. It's the things that we do every day. It's the consciousness of living outside of ourselves. It's the idea that all of you here have that capacity to open your heart, at a time in history when people are closing theirs. So I challenge you to do that. I don't know how long my hourglass is. I just went through open heart surgery 4 years ago, and recently I run a youth charity at Christmas time and was very sick, was back in the hospital and everything. But I come out on a regular basis because my hope is that someone in this room tonight is going to listen, is going to take it, is going to put it in their lives and make the world look just a little bit better. For some of you, this is going to last 5 minutes. Some of you never got it at all. For some of you, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. And for the very few of you, you'll take it home and make it part of who you are. But I can't be responsible for the outcomes. You see, I spend so much of my life alone, hoping for someone like my wife to come along and love me. And I can't be responsible for whether you do it or you don't do it or anything. I can only tell you that I wish I could bring back the years. I wish I knew what I know tonight and how important it is to feel loved and be loved. How important it is that people are there in your life. That's the riches. This is just trapping. This is just icing on a cake. The real riches are your best friends. And when I say best friends, I mean anyone in your life that you can feel safe with, that you feel like you're loved, that you can feel like you're important, and that you're valued. And that's the key. Whether that person is here or that person's passed away. You've known it, you've experienced it, now live it out. And that's the challenge. A number of years ago, I got an opportunity to go on the road when the Beatles first made their national tour. I was a photographer. And I was in Chicago when John Lennon had put a full-page ad in the Chicago Tribune asking to meet with 75 aspiring songwriters in the hope that the Beatles would find a new song, take it to the top of the charts, make that person famous. In an auditorium almost identical to this, 75 people gathered. 5,000 had applied to be there that day. And Lennon, who was probably the softest spoken man I've ever heard, came out of the side curtain. And barely above a whisper, he said, "I am no more important than any of you." Nobody even heard him. I was in the back taking pictures. I didn't even hear a word he said. So he realized nobody had heard him, came back, the loudest voice he could possibly muster. He said, "I am no more talented than any of you." Sure enough, a guy in the back raised his hand and said, "Hey, John, how can you tell us we are nobodies? The world is singing your music. Your concert's a standing room only." He said, "The only difference between myself and you is if I've got a song inside, if I've got a dream in my gut, I can have somebody write it, somebody promote it, somebody play it, and hopefully somebody buy it." Every one of you here tonight has something special to offer. But it doesn't mean anything. As I said earlier, if all of us, we stood in a circle, and we put you in the middle of the circle, and everybody told you how great you are, if you don't buy it, it's my hope, and I've had this hundreds of times, it's my hope that one of you see me in an airport, bald, live in Royal Oak, come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Jim, I heard you speak 5, 10, 15 years ago. I want you to know I'm going after my dreams. I'm feeling great about myself. And most of all, I'm giving to a whole lot of people in my life." And I'll walk away with the most incredible smile on my face. Every one of you here is unique. see your heart. You never have to go alone. You never have to go alone. I've given you everything I could possibly give you tonight. I've been on the road, I've done 4 schools in the last 2 weeks. And I've given you every possible thing. I love this program. You're truly blessed to be a part of it, even for a small time in your life. And all I can say is, thank you tonight for giving me the space. Thank you tonight for allowing my heart, your heart, to come connected, even for a few minutes. I love you guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your voice is sharp. First of all, whose 20 did I take? No, this is respectful. You know, I mean, I can't call somebody out and tear up their money. I'm going to try to get through this with limited voice. There's some scraps of the bill on the floor, and I've got some more in my pocket for any of you, no matter how bad it gets in your life. Take home a part of the bill, and if nothing's working in your life, no matter how bad it gets, pull it out, keep it someplace, put it on your mirror, in your wallet, do whatever. And pull it out and remember people first, things second. And you'll always be able to push through it. And again, the happiest people live outside themselves. That is so vital. And my hope is that somewhere along the line, you do the ripple effect in life, which is cliche-ish, but you do the ripple effect. And you go out and you create something that creates something that creates something. And that this is the true leadership. Because again, there's too much hate. There's too much violence. There's too much, atrocities that are happening. And you're the hope. You are truly the hope. My wife is going to be up here at the table along with Brandon and Dominic and some other staff people. If you think this message is applicable, I've reduced down my number of talks, and I used to crisscross all over the country. I've now passed 3 million kids, and I'm actually, I've spoken in every state in 10 foreign countries, and I no longer want to travel. So I'm committed to staying in Michigan, and it just keeps, I keep saying that, but it just, both in the last 2 weeks, 6 talks in Europe. And, but I'm going to try and reduce those down. So if you think that this talk is applicable to your school, if you think it'll unify and bring your school together in some capacity, as I have seen even in the last 4 schools, I did Holly High School, I did Breckenridge, I did Caledonia, I did Vicksburg. You think that, anything tonight will help the school be kinder and gentler, I will come in and give you exactly what I gave you tonight, which is 110% of who I am, because this is my passion. What Kevin talked about earlier to you is whatever your passion is, it doesn't matter. But the idea is to be passionate about something in life. I have an incredible charity, and it was an interesting Christmas because on Christmas Eve, we do 25,000 plus kids in the Genius Kids program, and if your school is so inclined to raise toys and help the program out, we would be so grateful. But it's all special needs kids and indigent kids. And so the finale is Christmas morning. And we started out 7 years ago where there was 2 of us handing toys off the back of a truck on Christmas morning. This last year, Youre was there, and half a dozen people in the room were there. And I was sick. I mean, I just had worked myself into a feeding frenzy. I had bronchial pneumonia, went in my heart and my lungs, and I was in Beaumont Hospital, and I told the nurses and told my doctor, I said, I don't care. I'm leaving tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, so I've got to go down and see what this is, what my heart is given to this. And sure enough, that morning, when the nurses tried to block my path and told me I couldn't go, the doctor said, "You're not signing me out of here." But I left. My wife and I went down. There were over 1,000 people down there. Christians, Jews, and Muslims. 9 mosques came together to support Virginia's kids and to support, the poor in Southwest Detroit. And I cried. I cried. I mean, I thought, in my lifetime, this is so phenomenal for me. And so, anytime you get that passionate about something, when you're willing to risk, when you're willing to be on the edge, it's worthwhile moments. It really is worthwhile moments. So I ask all of you, and I'm accessible. 6 months ago, I'm now on Facebook, and I get a lot of stuff and everything like that. And my wife was standing back and cracked up with this, but I have 2 websites. I have 2 email addresses. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on MySpace, I'm all over the place, and I don't even know how to turn on a computer. That's the amazing part of my journey, because it's not important to me, plus I can't type. That's the truth of it. But I love this program. I mean, I would have crawled here tonight, even being ill, no matter what, just for an opportunity, because of all the programs that I've done, now, so many programs that, they just, it's a 30-year run. Of all the programs that I look forward to doing, it's this program, and it's this state. I mean, I speak in New York and Chicago and New Jersey and Washington, D.C. and Florida and all the rest of the places. It's this program in this state that's because of all of it. I really love you guys. If there's any interest, honey, why don't you come down? By the way, I want all of you, and my wife goes crazy with this. I want all of you to get a chance when you come up and you decide to sign up or take some posters, or there's some CDs and DVDs. All I'm asking is a small contribution to these kids. And if you don't have it, don't worry about it. But give my wife a hug. She's the best gift that has ever happened in my life. And I want to tell you just, why she is. Every time before I talk, she calls me up, I don't care where I am in the country, and she says, I know that you're going to make a difference in somebody's life today, and I believe in you, and I love you. And it doesn't get any better than that, and I've waited my whole life to get that. Honey, why don't you come up here? Said to me, you were so dead. Anyway, guys, we got a great weekend ahead, and most of all, it's the beginning process of you being real, and being vulnerable, and allowing people to care about you and love you, because that's all we've got. That is all we've got. So, anyone that wants a piece of the bill, I'll tear off a piece of the bill, and anybody that wants to sign up, that's great too. And we got a table full of posters and some other stuff. I'm not product driven, so if you don't have anything, take it and send it to me, or don't send it to me, or whatever. I'm okay with whatever on that. But I really do love you, and I really appreciate the space you've given me tonight, because it's spent. Thanks again.
of us can really connect to exactly what you said. It really touched you, and I'm sure touched everyone else. I want to give you a sure appreciation for everything you've done for us, especially the past 30 years.
Hey, Hobby. Hey, what? Hey, Hobby. Hey, what? What do we think of you two? Ladies and gentlemen, Jim has been an inspiration, a mentor, and a friend for the past 9 years for me. But for our organization as a whole, and for HOBY as a whole, he's been that for today's a special night because it's been 30 years. So, our corporate board president would like to present him with a little token, and I'll let him speak on.
Jim, and I know you don't do this for tokens or for recognition, but I can really speak for, and I'm really lucky to be corporate board president right now, to be able to stand up next to you and say this, because I know of many, many people in this room who would love to. I can only hope that you can accept this token, and that when you look at the face of this clock, you see not a clock, but the face of the thousands of HOBY ambassadors that you've touched over the years. The lives that you've impacted, but more than that, the friends and the family that you're a part of and that we're a part of with you because of all of that you've given in your energy. And we just love you and appreciate you very much for that.
And I have been asked by our national headquarters in California, to present this certificate of service for 30 years in recognition of Jim's hard work and dedication to the ambassadors. He's come in, year out, give it all he's got, and we're proud of him, and National is proud of the work he's done for HOBY and for everyone. So, thank you very much. So now, we're going to break into small groups. GLs, let the investors get a piece of the dollar if they want, come up to the table if they want. Once you have, GLs, once you have all your ambassadors, you can break up into small groups and have small group times. Now, the dance starts at 8 o'clock. It is in the lounge that we were in this morning for HOBY Bingo. You have until then to have small group time, and then once you had your small group time has expired, you can take your group back to the Lion Hall to get ready for the dance, and then get together and come back to the hall. So between now and 8 and 9, let them come on up, do their thing. Have small group time.